No nation. Florida State survives a sloppy game at Doak Campbell Stadium, but nonetheless, you extend the streak. 3 games in a row, Florida State has taken down Miami. Jordan Travis getting his 3rd win in a row by himself against Miami. Not by himself, but on his stat sheet. I believe they said he's the first quarterback ever to have 3 wins in a row like that against Miami. So correct me if I'm wrong. Prayers out to Emory Williams. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you saw the tweet I sent out. Emory's from my hometown of Milton, Florida. If he would have went anywhere but Miami, he'd probably be my favorite player, with that hometown pride. I was really glad to see him go D1 and was, happy to see his success outside of when they play Florida State. But you hate to see something like that happen. So hopefully he can get that arm fixed up and it's not anything too serious and he's ready to play for Miami again soon. But again, the Noles survive 27-20. You hear it, the voice of college football instant reaction show with yours truly, George of the Renegade Report. Man, that game did not go how we planned it, guys. It was a tough one. It was that Florida State-Miami rivalry. You look out through years, even when Jimbo was here and we were dominant. We had the one big rout that was 45-17, I believe, in 2013. Besides that, though, ton of close games and just even in recent history, close games all over the place. Every once in a while, you'll have a blowout, but Miami has gotten a lot more talented. And Emory Williams, the hometown kid, like I said, from Milton, Florida, where I live, he played a great game for them. He was only like 6 for 21 or something like that. He didn't make a ton of completions, but he made some big ones. He had that big touchdown down the sideline to George. He didn't put the ball in danger that much. That's the one big thing for them, that he did what they needed from him. He did not, give us a ton of turnovers. He played pretty smart ball. And, even down there to the very end, he puts his life on, not his life, but, he puts his body on the line to get that first down. And I'm sure every Noles heart stopped when they saw him reach out because he got that first down. I'm not going to try to argue that call. He clearly got that thing. But at the end of the day, the Noles end up getting the stop when Tyler Van Dyke comes in there. Unfortunately for the Hurricanes, he kind of rolled out and it was over for him at that point. The DBs they dropped either 7 or 8. I believe it might have been 7. And they also had a little pressure at that point when he escaped the pocket. So the Noles moved to 10-0 for the first time again since 2014. I know you guys heard that over and over again, but with North Alabama and Florida left on the schedule, I see Damian Adams says his knee was down. Yeah, I saw his knee was down, but just from where I was at, it looked like it. But the ACC refs, while we're on this, regardless of that call could have went either way. There were some hideous calls in this game. I love Florida State, but that was probably a safety on Jordan Travis. But then you turn around and just like that, targeting call on Jordan Travis, or non-call, should I say. Like, how do you get it wrong? It's bad when the ESPN or the ABC, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same, broadcast speaks out on it when they're just like, well, we don't know what to say because that was wrong. They said the ACC was supposed to call down from the booth to address some of the calls, and they never did. The ACC just took one on the nose tonight as far as officiating, because this thing was extremely, extremely poorly officiated. It's unreal that an entity, say what you want, even though we're not up there with the SEC or not, it's still $30-something million a team. You got 14 teams. It's a big money business. This league, the ACC, this isn't peanuts we're talking about. The fact that their refs can be so bad, so consistently, where everybody's just throwing their hands up. Everybody looks at an instant replay, and like 99% of the time, you can agree. And these guys are just absolutely getting it wrong. On the interception, I thought that was an interception. Everybody watching it thought it was an interception, not the refs. Everybody thought that was a targeting play, not the refs. I'm sure some of you Noles might disagree with me, but most impartial viewers thought that was a safety, not to the ACC refs. I sure appreciated that one. At the end of the day, this game, it wasn't pretty, guys. There's no way to sugarcoat it. the big play on the game in the game when we go up, looking to go up 3 scores, and they hit that touchdown to Jacoby George again, I believe it was, on the sideline. Fintrell Cypress, who had been struggling all night with his physicality and kind of getting beat on a lot of stuff. A lot of the stuff that Miami got was on Fintrell Cypress. I'm sure people are going to be really hard on him, but at least he was competitive in that play. The real issue was Kevin Knowles on that play. I do not know what in the world he was doing. It was almost like he was trying to get out of the way. I don't know if he just completely lost focus or maybe come up lame or what exactly happened, but he ends up 3 or 4 yards just in front of the ball and the play and the receiver and everything. And Fintrell Cypress in trail coverage gets picked to where he's completely out of the play with no chance to even chase him down on that one play. It's super unfortunate and reminiscent of a play against Jacksonville State and a guy, Jarvis Brownlee, who's no longer with the team. And I forget who the other person was on that play. But long story short, it brought flashbacks to a worse time. But unfortunately for us, this is not 2021. And this team, didn't let it bother them. They didn't let it in the game. They picked right back up and were able to make the defensive stop to end the game. Some talking points, getting away from the refs. Guys, I wish this team would do a little bit more, get a little bit more ready to step on the throat. Seems like you go up 2 scores early in the first half, and when we come out there with a possession and Mike Norvell runs it twice and then tries to set up some kind of screen, and it's just like, man, you don't feel like you really competed on that drive. At the same time, to play devil's advocate, and I try to tell myself this, if Trey Benson would have broke one of those 2 runs for a touchdown or a 15, 20-yard game like he does very often, I'd probably be singing a different tune. Maybe we go down and score better. At the end of the day, it's up to this offensive line to make whatever play the offense puts in work. I talk to some of my friends, and it's like sometimes I don't understand some of the play calls by Mark Norvell in this offense, or even in the first half, some of the defensive calls. I don't understand it, but just because I don't understand it doesn't mean Mike Norvell and Adam Fuller don't have a plan, because 9 times out of 10 in the second half of these games, you're not scoring on Florida State, and Florida State does what it takes to win these football games. They make the necessary plays. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. I'm not sure how the Washington game ended up, but they were in an absolute battle against the team they played. They were, I think, up by a touchdown, 35-28. At the end of the day, Florida State didn't give up that many points. They only gave up 20. Unfortunately, I feel like we shouldn't have gave up more than 10 or 13. I've been unreal in my predictions this year. I've been extremely close. For example, there was a game that ended up, it was, I think, 41-16. I picked it 42-16. I picked the LSU game within a touchdown. I was off on this one, guys. I picked this one 52-17. I really thought FSU is just going to get these 2 guys back, your top 2 receivers, and really blow this thing wide open, but it did not happen. It didn't happen. But, Smooth Criminal says Miami's front was tough today. Look, guys, Miami's front is tough every day. We knew that coming in, and, pretty much everybody expected it in the first half. The bit of the surprise is when we start to go up 2 scores again in the second half, and they didn't salt it away. Miami continued to fight and got back in this thing. Unfortunately, that's where you got to give a little bit of criticism. You can't help but not criticize them. This time they didn't go away with it at the end. It was, it came down to stopping them driving down the field with them having the ball in their hand on the last possession and a minute to go. So luckily the defense stepped up and made the plays they needed to make. You hate that they had to have been in that position, but yeah, this is no slouch. This is a Miami team that is 6-3, basically gave a game away to Georgia Tech. So say they just took a knee, that's a 7-2 ball club coming into Doak Campbell with wins over quality teams, wins over a Clemson team, and just about the same way. You beat Clemson, pretty much handled Texas A&M. I believe that game went away. They won it by 13 or 14 points. So this was no slouch in this Miami team. And really the only thing that kind of brought them down and ended them up with 3 losses was Tyler Van Dyke and all his turnovers. And again, to bring it back to Emory Williams, the kid played a really, really, I wouldn't say a spectacular game, but for the situation and what it called on a true freshman to come in there to do, a true freshman out of Milton, Florida, to come out from Miami in Tallahassee in front of 80,000 fans doing the tomahawk chop and all that. He really played inspired football. He didn't, he protected the ball and he made the plays he needed to make to keep Miami in the game, and Florida State let it happen. He was picking on Cypress and number 3 when he was in there, and the dude made it a game. But at the end of the day, you make the plays. The team that makes the plays wins, and Florida State made the plays down the stretch. Get some of these comments up here for you guys. It had the potential to be a blowout. FSU line kept missing blocks up front, and Knowles at the bad angle made it closer. Yeah, you hear coaches talking about it all the time. Oh, we were a few inches away from winning the game. It was just a few inches. That was one of Jimbo Fisher's things he loved to talk about every week. And while it's true, I mean, you can hit that from every angle of the game. So yeah, like T. Murray says, absolutely, we were just a couple inches away from it being a blowout. But devil's advocate, I could say we were a couple of plays from it going the other way. So luckily, regardless of the blowout not happening, you get a victory. And at the end of the day, in the record books, it's Florida State beats Miami at home by 7 points with a nice, it's not a goal line stand, but luckily they stopped them there around, I guess it was about the 40-yard line. And Florida State's 10-0, guys. This can't be underestimated. So we still got bragging rights for 365 days. The Miami fans are going to say, "Oh, we suck, and y'all should have beat us by more. What are y'all doing?" But no, guys, this was a tough team that came into Tallahassee, and we got it done. Florida State did what they have to do to get to the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people are going to be down on Florida State. I've already seen a comment saying that they think Washington will jump Florida State. I don't think Washington will jump Florida State. I don't think I've seen anything. It's not like Washington blew out who they played. Florida State has North Alabama and then Florida, and then a conference championship. Regardless of what happens, if they did put Washington ahead of us, if Florida State handles business to the end of the year and they are undefeated, they will get in. They will not, there's too many teams that have to play each other throughout the conference, throughout the different conferences in, FBS for Florida State to not get in. If we get a loss, we lose to Louisville, then we're talking, problems. And there's a chance Florida State with one loss, there's a chance they couldn't get in. But anybody that tells you Florida State has to worry about getting in as an undefeated, just don't pay them their mind, because it's BS. It's not going to be like that. Florida State wins out. They will do like they do every time they've ever been undefeated in the modern age of college football, and they will get a shot, whether it be a national championship or a playoff. And, I see a lot of kind of anger towards Kevin Knowles in the comments, but guys, just calm down. I get it. He had a bad play there. I'm sure somebody will ask the question after the game. We'll probably get an answer on what happened there. But at the end of the day, it's Florida State's depth and the amount of different guys that they're able to rotate in there and keep fresh. And I have faith that they're going to get Kevin Knowles coached up, and maybe he just, this certainly doesn't help his case for snaps. And a guy like Conrad Hussey may see even more snaps, and I'm for it. I'm all for seeing Conrad Hussey out there more and more, because I absolutely love Conrad Hussey and the play that he's had this year. Azaria Thomas, a reason Fincherell Thomas is getting Cypress is getting targeted a lot is because if he's out there with 20, 20's making plays. They're looking away from 20, so you'd love to see that. 8 gave up a few catches today, but that one play, I don't know what he was doing. Lack of effort, or just wasn't ready, didn't have the signal. It just looked bad, the body language and everything on that one touchdown. The fade there in the corner of the end zone. I'll have to look back on the tape and see exactly what happened there. Renardo Green giving up his second touchdown of the year, unfortunately. Here's another guy from close to where I live, up Cody Tompkins. Good to see the win, but a very stressful game being a couch coach. No doubt, man. This was like not what we were wanting. I pretty much set in for knowing the first half was going to be a little bit stressful, but I was not looking forward or thinking we were ever going to run into a fourth quarter where you're going to have, down to that final drive like it ended up being. But thank goodness, Florida State handles another test. You know, you got to take it for what it is. You didn't get the blowout. It was a little bit more stressful than what we wanted it to be. But at the end of the day, your team's up against the wall in a spot where they have to make a play, have to get a stop to get this win there in our final ACC game. And sure enough, they get it done. And, you know, we have a chance to look at the body of the work. I know this is the Miami postgame show. But look, Florida State's 8-0, undefeated in the ACC. The only team undefeated in the ACC, obviously. Louisville with 1 loss. I'm not sure if I believe they got their final game. Maybe it's their 7th game tonight. I'll have to check on the schedule. If somebody knows, let me know. But they've got a loss in conference. I believe theirs was to Pitt, if I'm not mistaken. Pitt or Georgia Tech won. But long story short, the Noles are headed to Charlotte. I'm not sure what the move is after how we've played tonight. I don't know if you rest some guys, maybe rest those 2 receivers against North Alabama, or if you play everybody on the offense and try to get everybody in rhythm. Maybe play the starters in the first half. You know, we'll see. Let's see here. Get some more comments up here. Chi-Town, Kane, good game, Noles. I wish our quarterback could have finished the game. Yeah, man, hate that for Emory. Prayers out to Emory and his family. Hopefully he can get back. And there wasn't anything too crazy. Hopefully that arm can get fixed up and get back on the field for y'all. And, hey, props to the Canes, man. They brought it. We knew number 44, I believe his number is, but Reuben Bang Jr., the true freshman, we knew he was going to be a force out there for the Miami Hurricanes, and boy, was he. The dude blew up multiple plays on his own. Florida State was very aware of him. They had plans for him. You really saw the scheme in the Florida first half. Florida State trying to make every kind of play look exactly the same. You heard the Booth talking about it, but really good mix, 50-50 run pass in the first half. But Florida State survives in the end. I kind of wish we would have passed more looking back at this game. I feel like we used to see a lot more 5 receiver sets going empty. I don't know if it's something with Miami's defense, a reason we didn't see that much this week. But I feel like it's one of the most lethal weapons we have is when we put Jordan Travis back there and empty it out. But, yeah, we didn't see much of that this game. They really tried to balance it. They didn't get into the depth of the running backs. It was mostly Trey Benson and Lawrence Toafili. You didn't see much out of Keziah Holmes or Rodney Hill or any of those other guys, which was kind of peculiar. But it was just this game was just always in the balance. There was never anything, any comfort there. It was just one of those games that went down to the end, unfortunately. But fortunately, Florida State with the victory, 8-0. 8-0 in the ACC, 10-0 overall. You pick up out of conference wins against Southern Miss and LSU. The LSU, which when it looks slightly less spectacular now, but that's just what happens when you beat a team. They're going to lose a game here more, but still a great win if you ask me. They played a really tough schedule, beating some tough teams. Got beaten by some tough teams, but still a great one. Grill Master is always a part of the show. Not the best performance. It was really hard to go deep on passing with how much they blitz. Not much time things to develop. Yeah, they really they did send a lot of blitzes. The offensive line was caught lacking several times. That big play late in the fourth quarter on Travis when they just completely whiff and miss on the blitzing linebacker. It might have been just the defensive lineman that just somehow a gap just got looked like the A gap just got left completely wide open, and there he came right up there in the middle and got Travis. Look, that Miami defensive line, they were good as advertised. The defensive line and the offensive line, and the way the game kind of went. Florida State never got that kind of advantage where they could really wear down and get into the depth of Miami. It never really got any rhythm. This game just kind of slowly matriculated on. And, like if you're a team like Miami that's an underdog, you want to ugly it up. And they did a good job of that. And they uglied it up. And, man, it was a hard-hitting game from start to finish. Again, you saw some targeting plays you wish you would have saw. There was a lot of offensive pass interference that didn't get called. Maybe some of our guys got away with some stuff. But, at the end of the day, Florida State again, 10-0. And thank you guys all for joining us here at the FSU Voice of College Football post-game show. Going to read some more of you guys' comments. If you have any questions, comments, throw them out right here on the YouTube comment section, and we'll get them up on the board, and we'll answer your questions the best of my ability. But if you want to go to any football games for the rest of the year, any kind of concerts, any live events, stuff like that, you guys got to use ticketsmarter.com, and you can go to ticketsmarter.com and get their app. We have two kind of different codes for you to save big money with them. You can use the promo code BIG on any purchase of $100 or more on ticketsmarter.com. You can save $10 each with the promo code BIG. And the same thing, ticketsmarter.com, promo code BIG20. If you spend $300 or more, you can save $20 off any purchase. And those are infinite. It's not like you can use the $10 code BIG, the $20 BIG20 just once or twice. You can use them as many times as you want. So you can save as much money as you want. Just use ticketsmarter.com each time you do one of those live events, and those are all totally insured. And make sure you guys get over to @the Renegade Report right here on YouTube and give me a follow and a subscribe and all that good stuff if you would. We sure appreciate you guys. Again, Florida State 10-0, getting ready for Florida. We're gonna have to head to Gainesville in a couple weeks, guys, unfortunately. Let's see what we got over here. The O-line isn't great, but you can't block more rushers than you have O-linemen. It's up to the quarterback to get the ball out quickly enough and have the right play called. Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. I will say, as much grief as everybody gave Miami last year with the coordinator hires they chose and kind of how poorly coached the team was, as many errors that they've had with kind of clock moderation and stuff like that at Miami this year, this is not a poorly coached team. This was a well-coached team that came down here, and they weren't going to give up the big plays. Now, a big part of this too, guys, I don't know if Keon Coleman is 100% healthy. I don't know if he's 80% healthy. And for him to still go out there and battle, he got you the catches you needed out of him in the second half to get up there and get that 27-point marker to get you up there to win this game. The big punt return, that was huge. What a huge play for Keon Coleman after struggling back there. Their punter was just sending out these nasty knuckleballs and these line drives where he'd do the rollout and get enough time where the coverage was there. Usually if you get a line drive punt, you have time. You've got a couple seconds before the coverage unit gets there because of that line drive action. But this guy was doing that Australian rollout on top of that line drive punt, and it was really, really tough for Keon Coleman having this line drive come at him with 3 or 4 guys around him waiting for any kind of mistake. So for him to get that punt return there in the second half, I was really glad to see that for him to make that impact play. And that was just another play that a championship team makes, and that's what this team keeps doing. They keep making plays. But I see we got probably some Noel crime. I don't know, that could be a cane or something there. But yeah, when we get here in the post game, not trying to give excuses for the team, anything like that. This is football, guys. It's a physical game. It's about asserting one's will on the other. Miami came, and I was wrong. I've been pretty good. Been right about a lot of games this year. Unfortunately, on this one, I thought we were going to handle Miami. I thought emotionally kind of where they were with, losing some of the goals they had on the season. A lot of Miami teams in the past would have crumbled. They would have came in here and just completely fell apart against a number 4 Florida State team when you go down 10-0 early, even later on in the game when we get that 2-score lead late. For them to fight back, hats off to Miami. Hats off to Mario Cristobal getting that team going. And we'll see them next year in Miami at Doak South. And I expect another win. Maybe we can get a little bit bigger spread next year down there in Miami. Absolutely. Absolutely smooth criminal, man. Anytime Florida State beats Miami, it feels good. Look, guys, I can remember a game similar to this in 2009. I don't know the age group of you guys in here. We sure appreciate everybody jumping here at the Voice of College Football, or if you're checking it out on my channel, at the Renegade Report. We appreciate you guys coming. But yeah, back in 2009, I can remember a game with Christian Ponder, I believe, against Ja'Cory Harris, and a game just like this, except for kind of the other way around. It's Florida State driving down to take the lead late. Fourth quarter, I'm hanging out at my Alabama friend's house. He's just laughing at me, about to lose my just mind watching this Florida State Miami game. and Christian Ponder hits maybe it was Dakota Fag in the end zone. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. Geez, 2009. We're talking about. Wow, I'm really aging myself. That was the year I graduated high school. Don't do the math on that. But long story short, it was not a touchdown. I was jumping up. Woo! This is it. We're coming back, baby. Bobby Bowden. Yeah, it wasn't a touchdown. Miami gets that win. Fortunately for Florida State, in that kind of era of Florida State football, we go on to win 7 in a row. And here we are, 2023, and we've got 3 in a row. Florida State is able to take down Miami. They fall to 6-4. And your boys in Tallahassee stay undefeated, 10-0, 100 recruits. You got the number 1 2024 recruit in the stands. You got the number 1 2025 recruit in the stands. If I'm not mistaken, LJ McCray was in the stands. So you got to love it, man. You got to love it. Cool breeze. Yeah, just rub it in, drop the TD at the buzzer. Man, I don't know. That was one of the most heartbreaking games when you talk about the worst moments. Being a 90s kid, like I was around for all 3 championships, but I was a little kid for the championships in the 90s. So I was in high school for the 4 years of Tebow mania and kind of whatever, people consider the lost decade. And that was kind of capped off that kind of downtime for Florida State for me there, that 2009 game. It was just like just rubbing salt in the wound. But we got 3 or 4 good years out of Jimbo Fisher and a national championship after that. Playoff appearance that didn't go so well. Hopefully we can get back in that playoff and give a better showing this year. But again, this team, they're going to start slow. I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't know. It's kind of hard from an X's and O's perspective because Florida State does such a good job drawing up offense early. Maybe they're a little bit more pedestrian with the blitzes and things early on. But this team, I don't feel like you'll ever run into a situation that 2014 FSU team did against Oregon where you just get blown out of the water because you turn it over 6 times and you're either boom or bust on offense. I just don't see that. We do have a bit of the boom or bust rate on offense, but this defense really does. It's got the offense's back. This defense, as much as people, I know not my people here at the Voice of College Football. I know you guys listen to me to sing his praises most weeks in here. Adam Fuller is one hell of a defensive coordinator, and once again, kind of the defense is what held this team in this thing. The defense really is what won this game for Florida State. It carried the water for the offense, and guys, this is a long, long season. This is week 11. Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson. These guys are beat up, not to mention everybody along this offensive line. You already have Darius Washington in it, tackle because Robert, dang it. I don't want to say the wrong name. Rob Scott has been out for an extended period of time with an injury. We're hoping to get him back. They're going to be super careful, taking their time getting him back before the possible playoff or the ACC championship game, which we do have locked in. So just understand that this isn't – you're not looking at a Florida State that's 100%. You saw a lot of guys out there because this was the Florida State-Miami game. And they got what they had to do. At the end of the day, they get the win. Again, it's ticketsmarter.com. Promo code BIG on your purchases of $100 or more. Save $10. Promo code BIG20 with your purchase of $300 or more. You save $20 at ticketsmarter.com. My guy up here, right of the line, been following FSU since 1976 when my older sister went there. I went to University of North Florida, and we don't have a team. Yeah, sorry about that, man. I University in North Florida. I'm not sure where exactly that is. I know it's not too far from where I'm at over here in the Pensacola area, but yeah, 1976. That was a good time. Right before, right around the time Bobby Bowden started. I guess he got there in '76, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess he picked a good time to jump on the bandwagon because he got it going shortly thereafter that, and got them guys like Deion Sanders down there and really turned this thing around. And it's been a lot of fun for a guy like me who's been a big Noles fan since the 90s when I was just a wee boy. 3 straight baby refs helped the Canes. Yeah. Fortunately, I do appreciate that we were on the good side of the ACC refs on that safety call. So they weren't all on us, but yeah, there were 3 or 4 that were just egregious. That targeting call again. If you saw it, if you guys were watching that game and saw that targeting call or non-call, I don't see how you could possibly like if they missed it, they missed it, and they didn't want to review it. I understand, but how you go to the box and watch, and it was number 20, I believe, James Williams, the pseudo linebacker, um, strong safety for the Miami Hurricanes, clearly, and I mean clearly, dead to rights, sees Jordan Travis, and you can't call it launching because he didn't get off his feet, but he loads up like a snake and coils in upward motion right into his face mask. Clearly, like jerks his face mask all the way to the side. Everybody in the booth called it out. It's like clear and dead intent. The exact crown of the helmet to the head or neck, face or the neck or head area. It was targeting. How they could look at that and then say, okay, well, not targeting. I don't understand it. Probably the way Miami people feel about that safety, but I think that safety is more of a gray area because I do think you could make the case that um, there's a chance that it depends on when you decide they touched him because he was swinging the ball back and forth like out of the end zone, in the end zone, out of the end zone, in the end zone. So, it kind of looked when they contacted him that the ball was on the half-yard line. So that's why I thought they gave it to him because when they contacted him at the very first moment of contact, the ball was outside of the end zone. And then, of course, it swung back in, and it looked like a safety when his knee hit the ground, obviously. But I'll take that call. I'll take that all day. But yeah, I agree. Smooth criminal, wrong on both sides. Just was not the best outing for the ACC refs. Bad call on the safety, bad call on targeting, bad call on Emory making the first down. Come on, man. We got to give that one to Emory. He literally sacrificed his left arm for that first down. Let the man have it. But I don't know. The guy's really lanky. It's really questionable if he was past it when his leg hit down. But I'm not going to call that one egregious like the others. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. We ended up getting the interception. It's so funny. I feel so bad. No, I don't. I don't feel bad for Tyler Van Dyke. When he was on top of the world, he talked a lot of shit about Florida State. So I don't feel bad for Tyler Van Dyke. Kind of reaping what he sowed back in the day when back in the BMW rider days and the camouflage pants and all that stuff and all the trash talk. But long story short, he throws the pick to end the game after getting benched for throwing all them picks. And then the poor guy, he doesn't want to throw a pick. He was throwing a couple nice balls, unfortunately, into tight coverage. He's like 2 for 6, and then he has to throw it up. And unfortunately, he throws it up in a way that you end up getting a pick from a guy named Jerry Jones. And let me go on a rant real quick. Because when you talk about players who have been here for several years, Jerry Jones is a guy who transferred in again, I believe, from FAU. Jerry Jones came from FAU or USF1. Somebody let me know in the comments how I'm messing up here, where he came from. But he came from one of the directional Florida schools. Comes in here, takes just so much heat in the early time of his career because he's put in these tough positions in these defenses, kind of working around the field, finding his best position. And he's kind of found a home at that slot and, coming and playing second corner sometimes this year. And he has been absolutely amazing. He's one of the top rating DBs in all the country, according to Pro Football Focus. He was talking all kinds of smack in the offseason. We tried to have him on one of the spaces we did. I don't know if he ever ended up making it on, but just it was so awesome to hear. Just the confidence going into the season. I'm like, all right, dude, because look, I've been on Twitter in the middle of games and I've seen a big play and all of a sudden there's 7 on the screen with the big play and saying, what's 7 doing out there? I'm a fan too, I've wanted to do that, this year. I haven't done it, but not from 7. He's been just amazing. The guy has just absolutely lived up to all the stuff he talked in the off season, and he's just been amazing. And this is, I believe, the second game that he's just called a game like that. Got the pick to end the game. I can't remember what game it was earlier. Okay, he was actually from Mississippi State. Okay, so he came over from Mississippi State. But long story short, it's been a heck of a ride for Jerry Jones here. He took a lot of heat earlier, and he has turned into an all ACC type performer, and it would not surprise me if he was second or first team All ACC this year at that nickel position. So shout out to Jerry Jones. Man, I can't wait to see what you do the rest of your career, and hopefully you can get picked. Who knows, somewhere in the 3rd to 5th round, and stick on one of these NFL squads out there and make his Knoll brothers proud. Let's see. Looks like we got a cam. We will see you all next year because FSU will lose a lot of players. Yeah, we'll definitely see you guys next year. We'll be heading down to Doak South there, or the Seminole Hard Rock Casino Stadium, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of players, there's no doubt, but we're also getting a lot of guys. Also, guys, don't forget, we don't get them for the ACC championship, but should FSU handle business and make it to the college football playoff, you have one of next year's key players in Daryl Jackson, who will all of a sudden come available. So you're not even seeing Florida State at 100%, because we could see that guy that, imagine if Daryl Jackson was at Miami this year. Whoo, that could have been a difference in the game, having one more big time playmaker on the inside on either side. But yeah, if he was on Miami side, that wouldn't have been any fun. So it's unfortunate. I absolutely hate the way the ACC has done Daryl Jackson. I'm sure everybody here knows about it, but you don't give him a waiver even though he went exactly by the rules, enrolls at Florida State. You change a rule after the player enrolls. Already at Florida State, now you change a rule. Now you change the requirements to get your waiver after he's already moved to be closer to his mom, to a whole nother school, got his transcript sent over, getting ready to go into practice, and oh, sorry, denied. And then North Carolina somehow threatened some kind of legislation or litigation through the legislature, through some kind of state representative. I'm not sure the exact position the guy held, but they cave immediately. And okay, so now Tez Walker gets to play, but the Florida State player, well, for whatever reason, our lawyers didn't find the right information or whatever button to push throughout the Florida landscape of litigation. But we will be able to get him for the college football playoff. So should FSU handle business, we take care of business, knock out LSU in the ACC championship, win that 9th ACC game, and of course take care of the Gators in Hogtown here in a couple weeks. Man, them Florida Gators. That's all that stands between Florida State and the ACC championship right now is the Florida Gators. Take care of the Florida Gators, and all that stands between Florida State and the college football championship is a little team called Louisville. In year 1 of Jeff Brom with a pocket quarterback. Jack Plummer does not scare me. Now, Louisville's defense, they are a damn good defense. We may have trouble running the ball against them. But, guys, we're going to be favored in the rest of our games, hands down. We were a 14-point favorite against this game here against Miami. There was a time when I think we were like 6-2 against the spread. I believe we're down to 6-4. We haven't covered the past 2 weeks. So now here we are 6-4 against the spread. The team's been beat up, guys, but hopefully this team continues to get more and more healthy. Do you think Knowles will get bypassed next year? Guys, you got to remember, Knowles kind of got switched into this safety position just due to depth this year. And as you're seeing Conrad Hussey more and more, you're going to see him less and less. So, yeah, absolutely. I believe like Knowles will get passed up because you're just not going to see him at the safety position next year. If he's still with the Knowles, he'll probably slide back to that nickel role and play behind whoever's there at that nickel position. Azario Thomas is somebody who always battles for that, but I expect him to be either the first or second cornerback next year. And, guys, you got to understand we have Charles Lester, KJ Bolden, Jamari Howard, Ricky Knight, and CJ Hurd. You're talking about 5 badass high school defensive backs, for lack of a better term, coming into Florida State next year. So there's nothing to worry about when it comes to Florida State and their defensive back room coming forward. They will have depth, and Patrick Surtain will have these guys playing right. We appreciate the Notre Dame fan here. D-Rock Irish, congratulations. FSU, good teams find a way to win. I keep trying to tell everybody that, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. It was a safety, 27-22 FSU. Yeah, hey, I can admit that's a safety, but I can also admit that those three other plays were huge in the game. Florida State gets those other plays that didn't get called, like the different pass interference plays, but the obvious targeting play that I just can't get over how obvious that targeting play was. To not get called is just unbelievable. But guys, we're here at 40 minutes into this FSU Voice of College Football post game show, brought to you by TicketSmarter.com. Use the promo code BIG to save $10 off your order of $100 or more, and the promo code BIG20 for your order of $300 or more. And again, TicketSmarter.com. They have an app you can download. They're 100% safe, 100% insured on all your ticket needs, be it concerts, or if you want to get down to Tallahassee for that North Alabama game, use TicketSmarter.com. Promo codes BIG and BIG20 to save $10 or $20 more off on your purchases of $100 more for promo code BIG, $300 or more, promo code BIG20 for $20 off. Yeah, absolutely, guys. If you have any questions, like I said, we're 40 minutes into this thing. Any questions or comments, throw them up, and we'll get them up on the board. Florida State again. I know I've said it a million times, but I know guys kind of cycling it out of here. Florida State 10-0 for the first time, again, like we've said every week since 2014. But, guys, teams don't just go 10-0. This is 17 wins in a row for Florida State. I believe that's the third longest streak behind only Georgia and maybe one other team. Safety doesn't matter. Good luck to your team. We will be ready next year, a quarterback away. Yeah. I'll be really interested to see what Miami does with their quarterback situation. I was really rooting for Emory Williams to kind of take that thing over. He played a hell of a game. So kudos to your Canes and the way they played in the first half of the game, especially. But just the heart that Emory Williams, you see it out of these Florida kids. And it's why this Miami-Florida State game is so fun every year. It's why it's so gritty. It's why it's so hard-hitting, is because these Florida kids, man, they play that brand of football. They've all played each other in these different playoffs, even if they're from different parts of the state. If you're at Milton playing 6A, you're playing the 6A South Florida teams when the state playoffs come. So they all get a chance to see each other. They see each other in the 7-on-7s and the different camps at IMG and the different schools around the state, the super camps like Florida State does every year. So anytime you get a win in this game, you get a win and you appreciate it. And that's the end of that. You get to celebrate it for 365 days. You have talking rights. And this is 3 years in a row. We're going to get to do that whole thing where I get to tell y'all it's 1,000 days since Miami's beat Florida State. So I'll make sure and get that out on the calendar. And we'll do something. We'll do a Twitter graphic or something like that. Maybe a special Voice of College Football live stream or show over there at the Renegade Report right here on YouTube. That's at the Renegade Report. If you're not subscribed to my channel, you guys jump up there and subscribe. Give me some likes. We sure appreciate it. As we try to hit our goals and try to get 1,000 subscribers before the season is over. And the Renegade Report for our channel, that's rather new over there. Thought FSU would throw over the middle more. That's not. It's one of these things that we talk about week to week. If we throw outside a lot and you get a lot of these fades, it's like, man, I wish we would have threw over the middle more. If we throw over middle of the ton, end up with a turnover, stuff like that, people getting hurt. We're like, man, why aren't we throwing it outside? We have the two best wide receivers in the game. There wasn't one thing I could point to. Like, it didn't really stick out to me that we were particularly not taking advantage of the middle of the field. I think with the two safeties they have, when they weren't blitzing, they were kind of really sneaking around the middle of the field. And maybe some of that stuff looks like it's open, and some of the zone stuff they play from the couch QB position, like some of us were talking about from the comment section earlier. But yeah, some of the stuff I'm not fond of. I'm not fond of the onside kick coming out of half, but at the same time, if you want to, talk about that onside kick, it was 3 or 4 on one. It was 3 or 4 on Florida State, on Miami, and unfortunately, the kicker, everybody executed, were in the right spot, but when it came down to it, they just didn't high point the ball. They let the Miami wide receiver, Frank Ladson, a one-time All-World, I believe, 5-star recruit at Clemson that didn't work out, ended up transferring to Miami. We haven't seen a ton from him out of Miami, but you lose that, unfortunately, and Miami goes down and gets a touchdown, or not a touchdown, I believe they got a field goal right there. Guys, it was an emotional game. It was a nerve-wracking game. I can't remember all the plays. Y'all cut me some slack, but anyways, I just remember being kind of upset that we put him in that field position there at that point of the game, coming out of the half, when and it's just how it is. If we'd have got the onside kick, we'd have been pumped. We'd have probably scored a touchdown right there, immediately coming out of the half when we were supposed to kick the ball off of them. So that would have been a big flip. So it is what it is. How did we do on injuries coming out of this game? That is a very good question. I'm not sure. We did see Maurice Smith come off the field. Didn't look too good. Looked like he went back to the locker room. I believe that was right before half, so I'm not sure. Somebody can let us know in the comments if y'all saw that Maurice Smith came back. I didn't see anything come up with Johnny Wilson or Keon Coleman. Those are your two main people that you were really worried about. So knock on wood, hopefully they can just keep getting more healthy. Look, we have another week here with North Alabama where if we need to rest guys, we can rest guys. We can play the young guys, do whatever we need to do. There should be no real worries about some kind of Jacksonville State situation against this North Alabama team. They're not that competitive, I don't believe. If the case, if there's no worries with this staff, they're going to blow them out of the water, and we're going to be able to rest who we need to rest. So, yeah, that's the main thing. Do what we have to do, and then get down to Florida here in a couple weeks. Missed the field goal and the safety. They still would have lost 27-25. Knowles, yeah. Hey, we got the win, guys. There's no doubt about it. Miami didn't get cheated here. It's not like some crazy play on the last second that Florida State got to win it. Florida State was the better team, but Miami came to play. Hey, guys, they came to play. Yeah, give credit where it's due. And Thomas Cook with a nice one. Just make sure you kick the stinking Gators. Yeah, man. I sure would like to up that ante from only 7 points we got them by last year. This year we end up getting Miami by only 7 points. I'm sure they'll hang on to that all year when they try to talk crap and you're like, oh, well, we did beat y'all on the field. Oh, y'all beat a 6-4 team by 7 points. What did you do? Like, you're talking about yourself, right? You're talking about yourself. There, you're the 6-4 team. Like, we made you that. Y'all would have been 7-3 if you'd have beat us. But anyways, that's for later on. Right now, Florida State's 10-0. Everything in front of us, and the Noles keep handling business, man. We keep handling business, guys. We got about another 10-15 minutes here on the Voice of College post-game show brought to you by Ticketsmarter.com. If you guys have any comments, want to get any shout-outs, let somebody out there in Nole Nation how you feel, put it down in the comments, guys, and we'll get it thrown up on there. We appreciate all the chats, super chats, everything you do for us, coming to be here every week with us on the instant post-game instant reaction channel right here at FSU Voice of College Football and at the Renegade Report right here on YouTube. Man, I don't think there was been anything crazy that's happened outside. I don't think there's been any nuts upsets. Michigan handles Penn State. I'm sure everybody was watching that at the 12 o'clock hour, hoping Penn State could pull the upset on Michigan, maybe get a spot up there, maybe the second or third for Florida State. But unfortunately, Michigan State does what they're supposed to do. And a game somewhat similar to this Miami game, not like a big blowout or anything, pretty close. Michigan ends up holding on, getting the stops they needed in, get a score there late to win that one. So there shouldn't be much movement. I've seen people in the comments talk about Washington possibly jumping us, but again, I just don't see it. And if they did, it'd be like kind of a ratings ploy. Again, regardless of what happens, Ohio State and Michigan will play. So even if we got dropped to fifth, once Ohio State and Michigan played, we'd be right back up into fourth. And you'd have that same situation where you'd have that fifth and sixth team with possibly one loss or a no-loss G5 team or something of that nature. But Florida State would be safe and in the playoff just as long as they went out. Now, I'm all for the crazy situations, guys, because Bama has looked great. If people were hoping Kentucky was going to beat Bama today, that didn't happen. Bama did what Florida State didn't do. They thumped Kentucky. Of course, Alabama, Kentucky is not Florida State, Miami by any stretch of the imagination. But Alabama sitting there at one loss. If they can beat Georgia, you're sitting there with a log jam of one-loss teams. Now, Is the Pac-12 champion going to be undefeated? For that to happen, Washington will probably end up having to beat Oregon twice, and that's tough to do. The Big 12 champion, we already know, isn't going to be undefeated because Texas and Oklahoma already have one loss. So there you've got two one-loss teams already. Oklahoma actually has two losses. But for the sake of the argument, Texas is a one loss. Bama beats Georgia. They both have one loss. Florida State is undefeated in this scenario, but there's a chance Florida State loses to Louisville or somebody. You could have Florida State one loss, Louisville one loss, Alabama one loss. You could have a shit ton of one loss teams, and the college football playoff really have to work to make their money. But at the end of the day, I think you have two or three undefeateds. Florida State's going to be one of them, and you end up choosing between a one-loss Texas and a one-loss Big Ten team or a one-loss SEC team if Alabama is able to beat Georgia. But chances are Georgia, Florida State win out, and the winner of my Ohio State, Michigan wins out. Those are your three, and the fourth team will come down to the Pac-12 or the Big 12. If Washington went out, they'll be in. Texas will be left out. So sorry, so sad. But all that stuff is going to play itself out. The really important thing is Florida State has done exactly what they had to do, and that's win football game. Felipe Garcia, I believe I see him in here from time to time. Never underestate your opponents, especially in the state rivalry. Absolutely, man. It doesn't matter. I said this earlier. We've seen some blowouts in recent years. One, the first year that Mike Norvell got to town, COVID was going on. He didn't even make it to the game. He actually had COVID while it was going on. I don't even remember. I think maybe Kenny Dillingham was the head coach for the game. Maybe Papuchis or something like that. It's been so long ago. Long story short, Miami wins 52-10. Then you have the tight game, 4th and 14. Florida State gets the victory in 21, and then you get 22. Bam, blowout. So maybe even years you get the blowouts in odd years. Maybe we should have just known it was an odd year. We were going to get that tough game. So maybe next year we can blow Miami out again at Hard Rock when we got the odd year. But man, that Florida State team will look a lot different. I can't wait. A lot of people talking transfer portal. What do you guys think at quarterback next year? I think Tate Rodemaker is my guy. I think Tate Rodemaker is really going to be able to operate this offense and set up that run game with the way he throws the ball. More of a just like a Tom Brady-esque, in no way, shape, or form comparing him to Tom Brady, but that stand in the pocket and deliver more so than ever trying to use your legs to run. Just kind of manipulate the pocket, step up in the pocket, and be that pocket quarterback that we haven't seen in quite some time. Because as great as Jordan Travis has been, and as amazing as he is, a big part of this offense and this Florida State football team, that's not kind of Mike Norvell's thing. You kind of look back in time at the quarterbacks he's had at Memphis and even who he had at Oklahoma State. He's not a big, just not a big running quarterback guy. If you have that, maybe he looks for that in the future. But look more for just like an athletic guy, like a Luke Kromenhoek who can manipulate the pocket and run if he needs to, but really built on accurate passing down the field and making teams pay in these one-on-one coverage situations in this offense built for playmakers. The running game, we couldn't really. I can't sit here and say they took it forward got a step forward this week. We saw it just like all year. The running game did what it had to do. I think this team really needs to pass to set up the run more moving forward the rest of the year. I think honestly the coaching staff knows that. I think that Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson are by no means 100% healthy. Neither is Jaheim Bell, even though all three played and made plays to win this Miami game. I think we're a little bit more dinged up and a little bit more hurt than maybe just as we just kind of subconsciously wanted to as a fan base. But look, September was tough and those 4 games happened. But look, that was a long time ago. That was an early bye week to have it week 5 like that. So here we are, week 11. It's been 6 straight weeks of banging, 6 straight weeks of conference games against teams like Duke, Boston, Duke, Virginia Tech. I get my games all mixed up. Long story short, it's been tough. And these guys are beat up. They need a break every once in a while. You had to give Keon and Johnny Wilson a week off last week. Regardless of who we played last week, that wasn't like Mike Norvell did not want to go to a game without them, to have to rely on Ja'Kai Douglas to be your number 1 receiver. But that's what we had to do. We had to use him as our number 1 last week to win a game. We had to do what we had to do this week with everybody back, but not 100% to win the game, and we won the game. But yeah, hopefully Maurice Smith is all right. we'll probably know about that more later on this week with him practicing. We've seen Rob Scott practicing a lot, so hopefully he'll be back and starting by the Florida game. We'll see how that works out. Our guy Angelo says play calling was awful today. I disagree. I wouldn't say it was awful today. I wouldn't say I agree 100% with all the calls, but at the end of the day, they still called the plays to win. I think the announcers called it out. We had 5 or 6 drops in this game, which makes the calling look worse. Again, we talked about the onside kick. It was like perfect. Everything was right there. It was like the perfect onside kick with the bounce and everything else. You just let the super athlete and Frank Ladson make the perfect play on it. And so, yeah, it looks like a bad call. So it kind of is what it is on that. I don't think it was terrible. If anything, I think we should pass to set up the run more, which maybe that's me just being a casual observer. But I try to do a good job of watching this tape and kind of studying what this team does to be successful. And I'd like to see more of those 5 wide receiver sets, maybe see them empty it out more often, passing on the early downs to set up the run on, kind of, I guess what would be more 2nd and 3s, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5s, instead of trying to run it on 2nd and 10 when everybody in the world knows you're going to do it. And it's kind of a telegraph deal, especially with Jordan Travis not pulling those a ton, which he will stick his nose in there, and you've seen him stick his nose in there. He made a Houdini play in this game, but normally, he's not going to pull that thing enough, because if he did, he'd be pulling it 10, 15 times a game, because that's just, it's just how it is. But we only have one Jordan Travis. We can't afford for him to be pulling it out that many times each game. See back with the question, when do we pull our starters next week? That's the question, man. I'm glad you have asked the question, because that is the question. A lot of people talking about, do you rest Jordan Travis completely? Do you start Tate Rodemaker in this game? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this coaching staff is thinking. I haven't watched any tape on North Alabama yet. I don't know if they're a Savannah State from back in the day where you could literally play your scout team and you'd be fine and win the game, or if they're one of these tough lower if they're one of these lower bowl subdivision teams that can really fight you, So we'll see on that. We'll break down the tape and probably do a show for y'all this week. If not, if anything, we'll talk about it Wednesday on the Voice of College Football live stream with James Coleman and Chris Frazier of Spear Addicts, and Den Media Group from James's YouTube as well. So, yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure, man. I think if anything, at the very worst, we see the starters only for the first half. If anything, we might see, like I see one of the guys saying, rest Keon and Johnny if they're on 100%. 100% agree. Everybody that you can possibly rest, I think for the North Alabama game, they will rest, and you won't see the starters in whatever form the starters are, because I think several starters could be rested completely. I think you'll see the starter unit for the first half at most. In the second half, at the latest, you'll see Tate Rodemaker come in. Maybe you can see a Duffy or in the fourth quarter and get some much needed stats for him. And again, before we get out of here, guys, it is ticketsmarter.com. They help make this thing go. Ticketsmarter.com. You can go download the app. Any ticket needs you need if you want to get tickets for the North Alabama game next week, use ticketsmarter.com and use the promo code BIG for $10. Any purchase of $100 or more, and get $10 back. You can use the promo code BIG20 for your purchase of $300 or more and get $20 back. And those are unlimited, guys. You can use those as many times as you want. It's not a one-time thing. You could use it every week of the year if you want. Just keep getting $20 back every week using Big 20. Big 20, Big 20 every week. So, yeah, y'all tear that up and make sure you use ticketsmarter.com for all your ticket needs there. Totally safe. You don't have to worry about getting scammed, messing with people on Twitter and Facebook. Do not do it. It's a terrible idea. People are always coming to me with horror stories. So use ticketsmarter.com. Again, I know I said this a bunch. Here we are, man. The Noles are 10-0. 8-0 in ACC play. That's over with. The Noles have clinched the regular season championship, if you will. We've got a date for the week. Let's see. It'd be the week after. It's going to be 1 week after, 2 weeks after the Florida game. We'll take on Louisville, it looks like, in the ACC championship in Charlotte, North Carolina. in a game that will be hotly contested, man. That Louisville team's tough, man. We'll see how it goes. I'd like to just say that we'll go out there and blow them out of the water, but I expect a tough game in the first half like we've seen all year, and hopefully this team can wear them down and make the plays in the fourth quarter that they need to do. Good teams win, great teams cover. James Coleman, and we haven't covered in 2 weeks. The plays are there to be made. Well, I'm not sure what you're saying about James Coleman, but I'm George, and I agree with you, buddy. Yeah, good wins. Good teams win, great teams cover. And again, this team, I believe, is 6-4 against the spread. And at one point, they were 6-2 against the spread, doing amazing against the spread all year. But yeah, the past 2 weeks haven't covered, unfortunately. And we love James Coleman, Dim Media Group. Make sure you get over there, follow him, follow Chris Frazier, Spear Addicts, and myself at the Renegade Report right here on YouTube. Okay, I got you. He's saying that's James Coleman's quote. Good teams win, great teams cover. I don't know if that's James's quote. I think he's quoting somebody, but we'll give it to James. He's got a bunch of those fire quotes, including "Give it to the damn fullback." One of my favorite quotes, and hopefully we can see more of that when we get on the goal line this year, and a little bit less of what we've been seeing here the past couple weeks, Angelo. And thanks for it. I agree with you 100%. 10-0. We're all proud to be Noles. And again, thank you guys for joining us right here at the Voice of College Football. Go Noles, and we will see you next week. Go Noles, baby.